Why is that still going? Oh,
It's me.
it's
Okay,
you.
there, yeah,
All right,
that's me.
there you go. Damn it, Timmy boy. Welcome, everyone.
I apologize.
Welcome, everyone, to the Wednesday Night Live. It's been a busy week for vaping. We're going to talk a little bit about that. We got two articles that we're going to talk about that are from Jim's post from Vaping 360. That's going to be pretty much the main topic today. And let's say hello to Mr. Georgia himself. Oh, Tim, I always wanted to ask you. Oh, no, that's right, because you're not originally from that, so you're not a Bulldogs fan. No, okay.
I'm not even a college football fan,
right,
so you guys can hate on me all you want.
No, that's perfectly fine. I just wanted to make sure you weren't there. You weren't tied in with Bob somehow.
No, I have all kinds of people around me that are clearly aligned with either the Georgia Bulldogs or the Alabama team.
Oh, yeah.
Is that the Sooners?
Alabama. Oh, no.
Is
Yeah,
it the Sooners?
Yeah, I
okay.
think so.
So that seems to be the two primary teams that predominate.
Yeah.
My life in terms of my friends' associations.
Are you close to any
football.
of those stadiums? Are you close enough to go to if you wanted
I'm pretty
to go
sure
to a game?
if I wanted to, I could go to a Bulldogs game pretty
cool.
pretty
You gotta
conveniently.
go. You got to go to experience that one time. You have to.
I've been to a college football game before. My brother went to West Virginia University, so I've been to a WVU game, and of course, it's party central and tailgate, insanity and all that stuff, and it's fun. I mean, and so was going to a Grateful Dead show, and I didn't care about the Grateful Dead. So
that's true.
I just wanted to go for the party. So I guess it can quench all your thirst depending on what you're looking for when you go there. So, no, I just don't care for college football.
No, that's good.
I don't follow names. I don't care about the teams.
Yeah. But other than that, how's your week gone, Tim?
Another busy one. I just seem like the days just zoom right by anymore. Like they start and then they're over, and then I have to go to bed and then get up and do it all over again. I know I'm not speaking anything unusual to anyone else on this planet, unless you just literally do nothing and sit at home and you just twiddle your thumbs and shit. But I don't know. It just seems like.
Are you like me right now, amazed that it's already the 18th of May?
To some degree, yeah. It just seems, and I've said, I think maybe on this show before, but I mean, I remember being in my teens and stuff in high school, like 13 or 14, and being like, man, I wonder what it's going to be like when I'm 30, and then 30 came and, no, just an odd forward thought. Like, I wonder what life is going to be like when I'm 30, that kind of thing. Because at 13 and 14, you don't really kind of fathom that day coming. And then 30 comes and goes. And then in the end, here I am midway into my 50s. And every year, it just seems like the calendar just speeds up. Like, it doesn't. It just goes, and before you know it, somebody's like, it's only 120 days until fucking Christmas.
Oh,
and
I'm like, those posts.
And I'm like, can you shut up? Or you've got the people that are like the big fall people. They're like, I can't wait for fall. I'm like, we just started spring. Can you all just chill the fuck out? But before you know it, it's like, here's first day of fall, and leaves are already turning, so...
Yeah, I have one of those guys that already posted that it's 100 and some days till Christmas. Or we're at the midpoint. We're at the midpoint before Christmas.
Well, you said April 18th. We're actually on May 18th.
May.
There, sir.
I said May, didn't
you? No, you said April. You said April 18th.
I will listen back.
And so my brother's birthday is in 2 days, which... Poor guy. He's getting a colonoscopy done on his birthday.
Yeah.
I'm like, my poor fucking brother.
As it's going in.
But he's always been accident prone, so like bad shit always happens to him on his birthday, Like 1 year he ended up getting like 6 stitches in his knee. 1 year he stepped on, like he was jumping from when my parents were having an addition added to the house. They hadn't finished the opening where they connected the two buildings. And so there was this old jagged, like not parquet floor, but like those old solid wood floors. And there were splinters coming out the end of it. And he tried to jump from like the new part of the house into the old part of the house and didn't clear it. He jumped too quick, and he came down and drove like this 2.5-inch splinter right up in the center of his foot on his birthday. just crazy shit. So I mean, I feel bad for the guy, and then now he probably did this colonoscopy thing because it's the only day he could schedule. So
Yeah, everybody pray for Tim's brother.
yeah, pray for the thing to get ready to go up his butt.
For smooth sailings.
Yeah. So anyway,
No, don't worry. It's just looking up old friends. He'll be there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just,
It's like-
I feel bad for him. It's like you want to call him and wish him a happy birthday, and he's going to be like half drugged up, and not in the mood to really care about his birthday.
It's the new way of getting a selfie. It's the inside
I
selfie.
suppose. I'm
Paul,
not really sure.
How's your week going, Paul? You got anything shoved up your butt this week?
Well, let's start with the tax office and the accountant.
Yeah, there you go.
Government departments.
Yeah.
FedEx can suck my dick at the moment because they've been naughty people. No, I can keep going. There's a lot of people this week that have pissed me off.
Yeah,
I have a question for you, Paul.
Sure.
Why is your e-liquid covered up with a towel now?
Because
you
can thank the government for that.
Is that because? Well, I mean, obviously, we don't want to read any websites on your bottles from here, but
It's only two fingers,
No.
but depends on the doctor's size of those two fingers, man.
yeah, the government law probably says that he can't display it openly.
Right?
Thank you. Yep, 100%.
Kind of like the cigarette thing.
Yeah.
I'm not going to risk it anymore with what's
Yeah.
going on.
Yeah, I just was
And-
curious because it had changed.
And the rest of the people that have been getting whacked on YouTube, I'm not going to
Yeah.
risk it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, I mean that's where we're at. I mean, I was joking with Curtis today. I know Curtis, I wasn't baiting you in to try to get you in trouble with that post, but it's just like now you just got like he wrote something that was just normal, and I wrote on this post, "Is this Curtis? What have you done with Curtis?" Because it wasn't your average Curtis response, So it's like, what did you do with Curtis? Where is he?
He's there.
Yeah, I know, but yeah, the way he commented like a normal Facebook person, not your sarcastic. I was
Yeah.
like, "Is this Curtis? What have you done with Curtis?"
Yeah. Yeah, poor Curtis. Well, apparently, I guess he found his way out of Facebook jail. He appealed to some things. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What else is going on with you there, Mr. Paul? Anything good? Got to have some good news in there somewhere. Everybody's got to have a little good news.
Oh, no, not really. Oh, just
We're just the saddest three people on the face of YouTube.
But, I don't know. Look, I've got my mug. It says it all, Mr. Messi this week. But no,
Yeah.
I watched the e-cig summit in DC,
Yeah,
which was
yeah,
great. There was some
yeah.
amazing comments and amazing speeches put forward. Big shout out to Seismic Pirate or Mark Sliss for what he did and stood up there and told the people that be exactly what is going on. And I think he rattled a few cages somewhat. That was a brilliant talk. And then
Yeah.
Clive Bates, I've never heard him speak so fast in my entire life.
Well, what
And
did
he
they
was-
limit everybody to, Paul? What was
I
the
think
time
it
limit?
was 15 minutes, but Clive got through 10 very prominent points and it was knife after knife after knife after knife at the FDA and tobacco control. And it was brilliant to watch. It was just like bang, 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 bang.
Yeah, but do you think that changes anything? Just I watched that one guy's speech, the vape shop owner guy. I forget his name now.
Yeah.
The one you shared
Mark-
earlier today.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I
Mark-
thought his speech was fantastic. I thought that he made some very poignant statements. I liked that he had a little slideshow to go along with it, and everything.
Yeah.
And I fully am behind everything that he had to say because everything he said was factually true. But I'm just saying, in the event that there were actually people there to hear that commentary that needed to hear that commentary, do you think that changes anything? Do you think it changes their mind? Do you think that they really listen to what these people had to say?
I think, well, there were people there from tobacco control and from FDA. There was people there from the FDA. So they got to hear firsthand, not via a secondhand type situation or through an email. They got to hear it there in real time. Yeah. And he was pointing fingers. There's no two ways, saying it's your problem, your problem, your problem. Mm-hmm. And yes, I think it really might have changed the narrative just a little bit.
Yeah, I hope that some of what was said sunk in, that they recognize that we're not idiots and that we're on to them, and that we sort of are aware of what it is they're trying to do, that we're not, just some simps that friggin',
No, not at all. And Mallory's right. The FDA got absolutely owned during the full panel discussion when Clive and Mark and everyone else was involved. And it was just like, bang, bang. And they're just sitting there going, ooh. Yeah. That was fun.
Let's let Mr. Tim Swift over there do our hellos.
Oh my God! Hey everybody! Hey everybody in the chat. We got the wonderful crowd here tonight. We got all the people that we love to see week after week. We got Rog in the house. Mallory, good to see you, Mallory. Always good to see Mallory. Liana, how are you? Good to see you. Liana holding it down with the 100%. 100%. Stu rep in the house. What's going on, Stu? Luke. Curtis Clemens, the man whose middle name is Danger. Curtis Danger Clemens. Danger Clemens. We got Shannon. Good to see you, Shannon. How are you? Wonderful to see you. I said Luke. Did I say Luke?
Yeah, you got Luke.
I did get Luke. There's that troll lab works again.
That guy.
Yeah. Fuck you. Good to see you, brother. How you been? Good to see you, Jeff Danny boy. Always good to see Jeff in the house. Who else? Am I missing anybody? I'm still scrolling. Man, you guys did a lot of talking before the show started. Man.
Chris, big knowledge.
Oh, is Chris here? Yeah. Oh, he piped in. He here for. He goes, I'm here for Paul. Paul, you have a huge fan. You got a huge fan.
Yeah, no, he's just looking for Twinkies and stuff like that. Don't worry, I know. There is a joke there. Good on you, Chris. Hello.
Okay. Anyway, hey, thanks for joining us tonight, guys. Yes, it's always great to see you. Yep.
Thank you, everyone. Let's get right into what the show's about. And, those two articles that I saw on Vaping 360, I will actually put the, let me see, John. I will put as if you don't know how to get to that page, I will put it in the chat, and you can go in there and read them yourself. But I kind of paid attention a little bit to this because it kind of broke down the situation, what's going on right now with the FDA and PMTAs, and what the Judge Paul Grimm is asking for the FDA to accomplish at some point in time. Last Friday, the FDA delivered the first PMTA review status report, mandating that the U.S. District Court judge, what is his name? Paul Grimm. I wonder if he's related to Grimm.
That's what I thought when I saw the article. It's kind of funny that you and I picked the same article. Yeah. So anyway, it's funny. I'm like, wow, is that Grimm's brother?
Yeah, that as soon as I saw that, it kind of brought back some ideas that I thought we all thought, actually, let's be honest, we all thought what was going to happen, and that was the big boys were going to get priority number one when it came down to who was going to get what PMTAs through and who was going to get a look into the PMTAs. But it's something I wasn't aware of, but the fact that this judge is forcing them to go through the big hitters first and to push those guys through and get them. And I think it came down, Paul, do you remember, I forget what the requirement was, 2% of the market, or is it more than that? Am I off on that number?
No, you're pretty close to the numbers, but some of them have been there now since 2017, 2018, right. With the documentation that they've been putting forward. They're still not through yet.
Yeah. Yeah, because
But how the hell are they going to do this in this time frame?
the
Judge
time frame is
Grimm,
ridiculous. Yeah.
The judge, I don't think the judge is on this planet at the moment. I think he's well out in the universe because it's physically impossible to get through that amount of paperwork in the time frame allotted. This is going to go on for the next 2 or 3 years before there's decisions.
Right.
Impossible.
What I think it was, well, here I got what was written. Judge orders the agency to estimate when it would be complete review of the PMTAs or products sold under brand names Juul, Royce, Enjoy, Logic, and Blue, and Smok, Sornus, and Puff Bar, and any other product with 2% or more market shares as a measure in the market report issued by Nielsen. Which it's ridiculous. I mean, how about the little guy that how about that guy that got their PMTAs in before anybody else? Why is that guy getting pushed aside?
Well, I'll tell you why, because I think that they were just low-hanging fruit and easy to pick off. I think with some of these other companies, you have a little bit more, I don't want to say litigation, but you've got a little bit more red tape that you got to get through. They got more money behind them to really substantiate their fight. So I think it was just, hey, let's just take out all the easy ones that really can't fight.
Yeah. And that's how I felt. I mean, it was just like, okay, well, let's be honest. We all know this process took money. It took time. It took a lot of effort to get this paperwork done, hire the necessary people to help them fill out this paperwork and make sure everything was in order. So, yes, granted, the big boys have a little bit more money involved, as far as more products and stuff like that. Go ahead, Paul. No, jump in anytime because you know more about this stuff than I do.
It's pay to play with the big boys, and now it's becoming more and more apparent.
Yeah.
But they've had paperwork in now for years, and they're still not approved.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're right, because what do you call it? I'm sure the one that went through first, didn't they have paperwork in many years ago? The first one.
Enjoy? Or the Vuse Solo?
No, ICOS. The overall file for ICOS was 40 gigabytes worth of data, right?
Yeah.
And thousands upon thousands of pages, and that was only a modified PMTA.
Yeah.
The PMTAs for liquid are completely different,
right?
Because they keep moving the goalposts and they keep changing the parameters of what needs to be tested for. Again, it's bullshit. You can't do that.
Yep. Yep.
But they did.
Yeah, it said 51% of the covered applications by June 2022, which obviously that's not going to happen. 52% of covered applications by September. So he broke it down. He's given them, the judge has given them it looks like 6 months in between each one, a little more, a little less. I don't know. It says 51% covered applications by June 30th, 2022, 52% covered applications by September 30th of 2022. And 56 covered by December 31st of 2020. None of this stuff is going to get done. I don't even think, and it says 100% covered application by June 3rd of next year, 2023. Paul, is that possible?
Impossible. Absolutely impossible, because put it this way, even a very small liquid line, and there's testing data for each individual liquid and each individual strength and the outcomes for each individual liquid. You look at the amount of applications that were put through just by the small vape companies, over 6 million.
Yeah.
Excuse me, how?
Right. Well, that's my point. I mean, okay, you got the mom and pop shop let's just not even say the mom and pop shop. Let's just say one line that has maybe 5 liquids in their line. Okay, don't you think you'd want to get those guys done first? Get a taste of how it's going to work out before you jump into an application that has 40 terabytes of fucking information on it. You know what I'm saying? They should have went in order of application. So if you were smart enough to get your PMTAs in there, and you're the small guy and you got 5 flavors in your line, and most of those smaller companies, let's be honest, they probably did 3, 6, and 9 as their most of them didn't go past. I mean, everybody's gone 3 and 6 because that's pretty much the staple right now. Am I right?
Okay, but then you also have liquid companies out there that put 3, 6, 12, 18,
Right.
24.
Right.
And now all that paperwork got backed up again with synthetic. So now they've had to resubmit again under the synthetic banner.
Yeah.
That's another 6 million applications or SKUs that they have to look through.
Yeah.
And they found out in the first round when they were throwing out MDOs that it was just complete and utter rubbish, and they were just putting together a form letter and sending it out.
Yeah. Well,
They didn't go through the scientific side of it.
right. Do you think this is a way to get more money out of Congress?
Yes, bottom line, yes, but the big players are also going to be throwing huge amounts of money at it and behind the data sets and pushing their applications through. Yes, correct.
Yeah.
But Nick is in the chat. How much money do you think they'll go looking for in Congress over the next 12 months? And what type of resources
Yeah.
will the FDA have to bring in to try and get through this? Because a panel of 3 or a panel of 6, it's impossible.
Yeah. I mean, I like the fact that this judge is stepping up and saying he wants to see something from this group, something coming from this report. And for me, it's in a good way. He's making them accountable. He's saying, hey, this is what I want to see done in every 6 months, every 3 months, whatever. But to me, it just seems like none of that stuff is going to be feasible. They haven't even acknowledged how many people at the FDA are actually involved in this process of going through these PMTAs. They're not held accountable to anybody, to be honest, other than Congress for money.
Well, from memory, I think there was 6 on the scientific review panel. There might be more, but you've also got a lot of junior staff members there going through these documents, and I honestly don't think they know what they're looking at. Oh, yeah. No, they're hiring.
Yeah, they are hiring, all right. Yeah, they're hiring. Because obviously you can't have some Joe Blow at the FDA go through this process. He has to kind of understand the process. He has to understand the chemicals. He has to understand the levels. It's not just somebody. Hey, you can't pull a secretary from the pool and say, "Hey, come in here. You're gonna go through PMTAs today." You're gonna either put a yes or no on these. So they have to hire people that are going to be able to understand these documents and understand the chemistry.
Well, it's also then the full testing parameters of what they all have to go through, the whole protocol. That protocol takes time.
Yeah.
You can't do a 30-day study in 24 hours. You can't do a 60, 90-day, 180-day study.
Yeah. Maybe they should hire some of the big ass DIYers.
Well, that's what I said, Shannon. I said I'll take the job and then just give me the approval stamp and I'll just sit there all fucking day long. Approved. I just red stamp the shit all day long. Yeah, no, I did. So I think what the judge was actually looking for is that he wanted them to provide. I wrote down this line where it said that. The FDA report was rather anticlimactic with no detail offered on the likely decision dates for individual products or brands. Yeah. So they're just giving sort of rough estimates as to when they'll actually be done. So not only do they need a whole other calendar year practically, it'll be 3 years after the initial PMTA submissions. And the judge wanted timelines on specific brands. He wanted, when are you going to be done with Juul? When are you going to be done with Vuse? Right. When are you going to be done? And they didn't offer that. They just broad-based it. And so theoretically, they're kind of admitting that they're well behind. And for all we know, this could be another move to pad some other things, because I think the honest answer, and I've said it all along, is at some point, whether people want it or not, is Juul's going to get through with their tobacco products. They're going to be there, and it's going to piss Pave off, and it's going to make all the other antis mad because it's the one that they really wanted to take down, and they're going to survive. And then all the other vaping companies who are not big tobacco, who wanted to do flavors and stuff, were the ones that got kicked off the friggin' box and are basically no more. So they didn't win. Is my point. They didn't really win.
I can see the FDA commissioner telling everybody, stop sending shit to Tim's office. Stop sending shit to Tim's office. Who's that guy, Tim Swift? He keeps approving shit. What's wrong with this guy? Exactly,
yeah. Can someone have Tim come to my office? I need to talk to him about his high approval rate.
I can see it too.
We're making the news, folks, and that's not good.
Why is Tim getting free samples?
Exactly,
Why is Tim getting free samples sent to his office?
Yeah. He's being showered with gifts.
Yeah, that'd be the really funny one. Like next minute, Tim's got this massive eBay, or he's got his own private website up the following day.
Fuck it, Paul. I'm running a vape shop out of my Senate office.
Tim's. I can see the chat line. No, I'm out of 3.
I'm gonna sign. I'm gonna put my senatorial signature on the mod and send it out.
Yeah, I can see Tim. No, I'm out of 3, but I still have 6.
I'm gonna create a mod called Approved.
Approved.
The approval. Who wants to make it? Reaching out to all mod makers, the approval. We need one built. Come on,
or at least an e-liquid line called Approved. You know,
well, Paul, maybe you too, Tim. I didn't know that. Why is Smok in that line of brands? Does Smok have a closed pod system? Because it's Juul, Vice.
No, they all do.
Yeah, they all have. It may be just not sold here, right?
Well, it'd have to be, right? PMTAs aren't global.
Yeah, I don't understand.
But PMTAs are now affecting hardware as well. Water protection now is stopping hardware coming in.
Yeah,
they're actually stopping until. And there was notes in a group that I'm part of the other day, quite clearly stated, unless they have documentation for that hardware, stop.
Hey, John, are you sure you didn't maybe mean Sauron?
No,
Sauron was in the list.
No, they're in there. It's Juul, Juul, Vice, Enjoy, Logic, Blue, Smok, SMOK, Siren. Yeah. So that kind of threw me off, and I was thinking, well, number one, I didn't know if they had a closed pod system, and 2, it made me realize that they are the big boys. So they're still number 1 as far as hardware sales. It's got to be if they're in that list with Enjoy and Juul. Smok has to still be number 1 when it comes to mod sales.
All right, so the only one that I can seem to see that maybe close to a closed type pod system, but it doesn't appear to be closed, is the NFIX, the Smok NFIX, NFIX. But that's a 25 watt, and it looks like they just sell replacement pods, but they look like they're refillable on your own. I don't see these as being pre-filled.
Knock yourself out, Nick. If you have a question, throw it out there. Yeah, I didn't know.
I'll keep looking.
Well, to me, those are the 2 things I thought of. Is I didn't know they had a closed system, and 2, that they're still number 1, and they must be still number 1 as far as hardware sales in the nation, in our country.
Well, it's also the other products that they manufacture for other smaller companies and their umbrella. Yeah. If you look at S'more and the other big players, they're still there. Then you've got probably one of the most underrated companies being Relics, and what they're doing. They're building their own lab and everything for doing proper testing. Putting through and for future. Yeah. So they're one company that's future-proofing themselves, but then you have other Chinese manufacturers. Here we go.
I just don't see Smok having a closed pod system.
Yeah, it just. I think it has to do with their sales, which I think is why they're in there with those other names. I think they got to be a big chunk of the market. It's got to be Smok.
Well, then let's comment to that a little bit more, because I was sort of also reading in the article where it said that Judge Grimm ordered the FDA to report its progress reviewing PMTA submitted for the most popular brands sold
Right.
in C stores.
Yeah.
Okay, so are smoke products sold in C
number
stores?
number one. Oh,
In
C stores. No, I
C
don't know.
stores.
No,
This
no, no.
is this is not vape shops that we're talking about.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
C stores and gas stations, and I've never seen
No.
smoke products in any of those places. At least not that I'm aware.
No, I have not either. I haven't.
So it's funny that they're
I-
mentioned.
I'm going to answer this.
Go
for
ahead.
Nick.
Answer Nick's question.
In about 10 years' time, they will have had the amount of time to go through every liquid that has been put forward with all the variances. I don't think that there's enough of the machines available
I'll be
to
64.
actually sit there and keep going through. There's other variances here, Nick, that you didn't add in. It's coil material.
Yeah.
It's whether it's closed or open system, whether it's like the consistencies of the liquids. You can go, 70-30, 60-40, 50-50, 80-20, 90-10.
Yeah.
There's those variances as well that you've got to take into consideration, and then all the different nicotine strengths, because the chemistry changes with every nicotine strength.
Yeah, they
You've
got a
got
big
more flavor, less flavor. Like 10 years. Come on.
yeah. I'll be
that's
64.
That's a valid figure. That's a valid figure.
We'll all be in our 60s by the time it happens. I could see us all celebrating on the show at 64. Yeah, everything went through, man. Yeah.
Okay. Well, in that case, can someone please put together a GoFundMe for my Zimmer frame, because I'm going to need one by then.
You're going to have to decide, do you want gas or do you want e-liquid? Do you want gas or do you want e-liquid?
So to Chris's point, and I mean, I'm not trying to extend the conversation on Smok or smoke. Fuck, I hate that. I hate that with a passion now. I agree, Chris. I do think that it's a common brand that people gravitate to because it's recommended often, because it's typically cheaper, more readily available to most people who are getting into the game, and then their friends, because they are like, yeah, get this, and then it's a smoke, it's an RPM unit or something like that. But it's not like the and now maybe it's different in another country, but here, like if I walk into a Circle K or something like that, and they've got some vape products behind the counter, the Smok is not going to be one of them in that particular situation. And that's what makes this whole Judge Grimm thing, is that this is about, it says right here, I'll read it into a little bit more detail exactly out of the article. Judge Grimm ordered the FDA to report its progress reviewing PMTAs submitted for the most popular brands of vaping products sold in the convenience store, gas station, vape market segment. So to me, and somebody correct me or tell me where I can find it, how Smok falls into that category, because I just have never seen that. Now, if they mean like cash and carry places where they're buying some of that off-brand kind of stuff that's not common to like a like a 5 and dime roadside cash and carry kind of place, a more independently country bumpkin type owned. Maybe they have a wider array of products, and they've identified that Smok, based on their reporting, is 2% of the market.
Now, I was surprised not to see Aspire on that list, because that's not, Aspire and Smok they're pretty much number one and number two as far as sales. I mean, as far as coil sales and devices, Aspire has to still be up there. I mean, I still buy Aspire coils, and I'm sure there's still a lot of people. Yeah, you're using one right now. That's what I'm saying. And they have one coil that, what is it? I forget the number of it, but that's the one that, I mean, that's how old now? That's specific. Yeah, I mean, that's
2014, I think, when they created that one.
Yeah,
it might be 2013.
Yeah, and remember, that's like the number one counterfeited coil too.
This is still one of the best coils on the market.
That's it.
1.8 BVC.
Yeah, BVC. Yeah.
The one that I'm using in this one now is their new generation 0.7.
Right.
And this thing kicks ass.
Yeah. Yeah. That thing's been around forever. Number one counterfeit coil in the world.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. I mean,
But
I
it
don't
still
know.
works.
Yeah.
It still works.
And to be honest, that's, I think it's, it's in just about every shop, that coil, and every Smok device you can imagine is in every single vape shop. And every person that I run into, I don't run into a lot of people here in Modesto that vape, or they hide it or whatever, but most of the time when I look over, it is a Smok device, and it was that, what do you call it, for a long time, the alien. Everywhere I went, everybody had a fucking alien. Everybody had an alien.
Hey,
Check
Mowgli
Messenger.
Hato.
I will check Messenger, Nick.
Yep, Messenger.
Messenger.
Check. That's because Nick lives down in the south.
Yes.
Y'all check your Messenger.
I will be.
You got to check your Messenger.
Nick got fired up and wants to come on.
That sounds like a goiter or something. Like, man, I got a huge Messenger, and I don't know what I'm gonna have to go to the doctor for that one. Now,
Go ahead, Tim. Go ahead.
Well, no, I saw Curtis comment, and he said that he'll take a picture of his shop, of his gas station, and they've got Geek Vape and Smok. Okay,
Wow.
So I guess let me quantify where my brain goes when you talk about C-stores and gas stations. I've got a few cash and carries around here, like smaller, kind of like, off the wall, unnamed, weird, Sam's, fucking, there's no chain called Sam's. It's just Sam's. Yeah. So my brain gravitates to like QT or Shell or the Circle K. And when to me, those are synonymous with like C stores and gas stations because they kind of blend them together. It's like you get your gas, but then you can go get your soda and your zigzags or whatever you need to get, kind of stuff. So it's a fill-up. So I don't know that we have any of those particularly near us. So it could be that the owner knows that. The owner knows a little bit about vaping, and they're like, yeah, the people like this stuff, so I'm going to order it. Or somebody he knows said, man, you better put some of that Smok and that Geek Vape stuff in there. That shit will sell like hotcakes. And so he did it. So, but that 2% market share has to come from reported sales from those places, right?
Do you think Tim, that they're counting like the cigar shop or the cigarette store? I mean, we got like a cigarette store here, which carries
I don't know. That's
all
very
the brands.
Yeah,
and vape stuff.
Well, that to me, if you're going to say it's like a cigar, cigarette, CBD vape shop, that to me, that's a smoke shop and not a convenience store. When I think convenience store, it sort of encompasses everything from cigarettes to tampons.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that to me is more of a C-store type of angle. And so, I don't know. I guess it's all debatable. I think anybody can put whatever they want in those stores. They don't have to be overrun with jewels and enjoys, right?
Yeah, because I had this guy here by our house. Well, maybe different for you there in Australia, but the store here at my house, he noticed I was vaping and stopped buying cigarettes many years ago, and he asked me, what should I carry in my store? Yeah. And I kind of looked at him. I was like, well, you can probably, I wouldn't put hardware in your store, but there are situations sometimes where I'm out of liquid, and it would be nice to be able to walk in here and buy a bottle of 3 or 6. And he started carrying a couple, but he went Chinese. He went Chinese brands, some off the wall names, and I was like, no, not this shit.
Hey, so I got a joke since Nick's in the chat.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Hey, nobody shoot the Messenger.
Okay.
Don't shoot the Messenger.
What is up, Mr. Nick Orlando? Did we get you fired up? Did someone throw some coal in the fire?
He froze.
He froze.
Right in his big.
There he is. Yeah.
I thought about freezing. No, just a couple of things you guys are talking about, and it just kind of sparked yesterday. First of all, hello everybody. How y'all doing?
What is up?
I'm just getting ready to hit the hay, but we have the. John, I'm sorry, man. I was driving, and when you texted me earlier, and
I know you were. I remembered seeing your post earlier. You were busy. I forgot to remember that.
But I did hear a couple of things, and you guys were talking about the whole FDA thing with Grimm and all that. But it's a little different here. And I know I don't want to take y'all off topic, but the thing I asked in the chat about, how are they going to test the e-liquids? It was pretty evident yesterday listening to the judges and the FDA in the Court of Appeals down here in Miami. They didn't take the time, and a couple of our judges caught on to it and were like, how are you MDOing these guys when you're not even like testing anything? Yeah. So they started off, and this kind of went to the last topic you guys were talking about, where they're talking about industry that started getting attacked with the Juul type devices, not them specifically, but the pod systems. So their thought process is now that they took Juul away, and Juul did away with flavored vape, we went to disposables. And the youth, it's all about the youth and the flavors. To this day, we are still talking about youth and flavors. And that's not even what the appeal is. But they're bringing it up. And it's like, are you kidding me right now? Like, we're talking about the youth. So they're denying everybody. Because the FDA's fear is that everything will eventually be youth accessible and abused, so to speak. Those are my words. Yeah. But they're saying that, they went from pod to disposable, and they're going to systems. So we're just going to like MDO everything because they're going to get there. Yeah. And, one of our judges, I don't know if you saw the post, asked straight up, so if you limit access to just federal judges or to FBI agents, would that? And they said no. So what's that tell you? That nothing is going to be good enough.
Nothing's going to be good enough for them.
That eventually, they're just going to keep banning this product until we're out of business and our consumers are out of available, and the youth will still have access. That's all it boils down to. And it just drove me crazy to hear that and not be able to speak in this courtroom where they're basically saying, yeah, we didn't do it, but we didn't have to, because anybody who didn't submit all the stuff, period, we don't even have to look at their paperwork. And we know that open systems are eventually going to be something youth want to access, so we're just going to get that out of the way right now before it becomes an issue, because they're moving in that direction. That's what they've always had. They totally dismiss the fact that the products are easily accessible by stickman sales, and they even admitted, they told the FDA attorney, said, well, the adults are the ones buying it for the youth.
That's bullshit.
So this kind of stuff just blew me away sitting there listening to these. Thankfully, 2 of the 3 judges caught on to it and really called them out. And we may really have a shot here in Florida, in the 11th district, which includes Georgia, Alabama, and Florida. We may actually have a shot based on what I was hearing in the courtroom.
Nice.
But those things that they came out of their own mouths blew me away. And there were 6 there. So there were 3 cases or 3 appeals and 2 FDA attorneys per appeal. So they had 6 people in this courtroom. It took 3 hours. And they took turns. But each one was repeating the same response in regards to, yeah, we didn't have to look at those. All those submissions, those millions of documents from this one or that one, we didn't even bother because we didn't have to. And they're like, well, what do you mean you didn't have to? Like, how did you forget that factor that you have to go through these things?
Yeah.
You don't just go, well, people are using this, so we're just going to ban it or we're just going to deny it.
That's not how
you got to do your job.
Go ahead, Paul.
Apparently, no, they don't have to do their job. They just go, no, fucking no. And I actually want to know who wrote that original MDO letter. I want to know who the author was or who got them to write it that way in particular, so they could just change out a few bits and pieces and send it to everyone. Because whoever that turkey is, right, and whoever's telling the FDA's attorneys to say these specific points, who is writing that list? Honestly, there has to be someone who is the architect behind writing these statements, not looking at the science or the truth for that matter, just writing a statement and saying, this is what you've got to say. You go to this state, you go and say this in that courtroom. It's corruption at the highest level. Sorry, nothing more, nothing less.
Yep.
And now, I will say that they do have a valid point that a lot of the submissions did not meet the criteria of the asked for. Now, they changed the game halfway through the process.
Yep.
And said, now you can do this or this or this. They're constantly, it's a moving target. And one of the judges did catch on to that. It's like, this is a consistent moving target for these people. At what point do we come to this is it? Now, did we submit the cohort studies or the lateral? No. A lot of places didn't because we didn't have the time to do it. But that just stands to the fact that they didn't give us ample time to be able to submit it, right? So, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong. I'm just thinking that if the response is we needed 36 months to be able to submit that, where's the 36 months to be able to gather the info to submit it?
Right.
So
and
like,
that's where they took modeling.
Sitting there because you can't talk.
That's where they took modeling on board for it. They took in the science community, you can model something and you can output figures going 180, 180, 360 days into the future on modeling itself. But when they started changing the goalposts, if you go back to 8.8 and the deeming regulations and what they wanted in the PMCA process, none of that was in there. And then 12 months later, bang, they threw something else in. And then here and there, they snuck little bits and pieces in. And then I read recently, and I need Amanda to clarify it, whether or not now they've actually put in vitro studies and I went, you got to be joking. If they've thrown that in there as well, that's near impossible to get unless you are a tobacco company. And unless you have state-of-the-art equipment to actually study and go down that pathway. It's impossible. I'm sorry.
Well, Nick brings up a very valid point in the sense that I just don't think that they have an end game that they're trying to get to, and it's just easy to go ahead and just ignore the truth of the matter and just get rid of it so that they don't have anything to have to worry for. I don't know if the judge is recognizing that they were pulling a fast one. Do you think that causes them to have a bit of an honesty check, like that they have to go, or that it plays well in other litigation against them for some of the MDOs anyway, people trying to get their PMT reinstated? That's
the problem is, if they didn't file appeal, they're not going to even have a chance, right?
Right.
So if you didn't file an appeal, you're not even going to get a chance to speak. If you did file an appeal, it's very select. And I don't know if everybody's listened to the proceedings in Chicago and the proceedings in Miami and the differences of not only the presentation and appeal, but the way the judges responded.
Correct.
So it is, as much as we like to think it's not political, I got to be honest, it's political, right? The way who selected these judges is important, especially to our cause and their thoughts and beliefs and their thought processes. Yeah. So we had a judge that was appointed by Obama, we had one by Trump, and we had one by Bush. Those three judges were appointed by those presidents during their administration. Two of the three judges were like just sitting back listening, but got very challenging toward the FDA and their processes and how the things were being done. One of them was just buying into youth access and flavors only.
Right.
And it was very evident. But when those other judges saw that, they jumped on it. So when we're talking about globally or across the board, it's going to be a tough one, Tim. I think it's going to depend on who the judges are that are selected and who made the appeals and how those appeals are presented.
Right.
Our guy went for We didn't get clear and concise direction on how to do this. When we did, we tried to comply. We don't have the time to do it and comply even further, but they keep moving the goalpost. Yeah, and as long as they blanket this MDO stuff and move the goalpost, we're never going to catch it. So that's what the appeal's for.
Now, if they keep moving that, like you're saying, go ahead. Hold on, let me ask you a question.
The other piece was
he's choppy.
I'm sorry.
Let me ask you a question.
I'm sorry.
They keep moving the goalposts, they keep changing things. Does that change the fact that our date to have products pulled off the shelf, is that date has changed with these other changes? No, right? It's still the same. These products are going to be off the shelf at this date no matter what's going on. Is that how it's going about? I'm not sure. Nick, you're going to have to move closer to your Wi-Fi. Yeah, there he goes. He's gone. But you get what I'm saying? Is that date changing with the changes, or is that date still fixed in stone?
Was that for me?
For either you and Paul. You guys both know. You guys are both
I only caught the back end of it. I only caught the back end of it, buddy.
Yeah, no. Because they keep changing the rules and regulations and stuff like that, the goalposts, like you guys are saying, and what reports they want and they don't want. Is that end date for us for products to be taken off the shelf? Is that date has that date changed with the changes that are being? No, right? See, that's what I wasn't sure, because I keep hearing this, I keep hearing that. This needs to be added now to it. This is going to change here, but that date is it's still fixed in stone. It's staying that date. That's See, that's bullshit.
So the other piece of this whole thing is the majority of the products that are being sold today in retailers are already not supposed to be there. Right. But with lack of enforcement, everything's cool. So
yeah, you're gonna have to move closer to your Wi-Fi, Nick. You're cutting in and out. I know you want to jump in that pool behind you. Look out for the gator.
Yeah, I want to know, was it your pool that had the gator in it?
Dude, that's scary shit. I'm sorry. That is some scary ass shit.
That was over in Tampa.
Okay. Yeah. Dude, when I saw that picture, all I remembered was my pool and my kids, and thinking how scared I was if my kids were in the backyard or not. You know, because back then we really didn't have the regulations you have today. You got to have a net around it and all that. And all I kept thinking is, God, can I imagine my kids going out in the backyard and a fucking 15-foot gator in the fucking pool, dude?
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, we're dads. We're dads.
I'm in the pool. I'm like, man, if I let the dog out, he's going to get eaten. Shit. And he's a 90-pound boxer, but you put a 12-foot gator out here.
That was a big friggin' gator, man. And that thing probably thought, he's in heaven. He's in the nice crystal clear waters. You know?
He was just chilling.
Yeah.
Damn. I would shit my pants.
That whole thing, man, it's tough, man. It depends on what district we're in, right? What circuit court we're in, and who's gonna talk for the day, and who the I guess it's not called the plaintiff. I guess it's called the petitioner. Who the petitioner is and what their product is, but even still, they still took open versus pod versus open, or pod, open, and disposable, and lumped them all together and said, yeah. And we had a representation of each of those products in the courtroom yesterday. So we had a disposable company, an e-liquid company, and a pod company, and they were just lumping them all in and saying, yeah,
that's and they can't use the fact they don't understand the system anymore, because those days are gone. They understand the breakdown. They understand the difference now between an open and closed pod system. 10 years ago, we got lucky with that. They didn't really understand what was going on. We found loopholes here, we found loopholes there, but they know now. They can't use that as an excuse anymore. They shouldn't be lumping them all together.
But they're trying. They're trying. And this is but this is the problem.
Yeah.
And then they've lumped in with liquid manufacturing. They've lumped in synthetic, freebase, salt, and any other variant that we're working with, all in the same category. Wrong. It doesn't add up. They're just going, no, let's just throw it all in the same. Huh?
Where are they gonna put AQ30, the water-based aqueous?
Yeah.
I'm not going there. Okay, I, that'd be a good one because that changes
Yeah.
the whole playing field completely.
Yeah.
Yep.
If they're effective.
All that. If you
They
look,
are.
they're like, and
I'm
the
using it now,
flavor is on point.
and it doesn't give you that scratchy throat
Yeah, it don't
feeling
give you
that
that
salt
throat.
does. It's really smooth.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah,
but then do they just go after that too?
They just go. They
Of
go
course.
after.
I mean,
it all.
you know,
Going
it's
after
like
nicotine, right? Ends is the key
Ends.
word.
Ends.
Yeah, electronic nicotine delivery system.
But when they did that, and when they talk about disposables and pods, and then they go, well, track record shows that youth are going to be at open systems anyway. They have small open systems now.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, throw your hands up and walk away. It's like, where do we go?
Yeah.
But no kid's going to pop this in their backpack and run around and want to refill it.
no,
No,
because
no.
it
No.
just calls too much attention to them.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not discreet. So, I mean, you know, they don't want to be busted with something like, because they're going to stick out like a sore thumb to a cop or something like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But you got to also keep in
Hopefully,
mind
a
too.
parent, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
God forbid a parent might look in their backpack and see something. You know?
Do the parently thing, and actually check on your kids. God forbid. No, don't do that. You
Yeah,
wanna
but
be,
I mean,
you want
no-
to be their best friend. You want to be their best friend.
But it's just it's ironic to me how they the government or these people who quickly will go after vaping, they keep calling out like the C stores and stuff like that as being a place where these kids catch on to stuff. But I'm saying, but they've already figured you out. They're going back channel anyway. Like even if somebody can buy for them, which seems like an obvious answer, like purchasing online, I'm like, it still doesn't matter. They're still getting shit sideways and through Snapchat and all these other back channels. It's like that you can't control. You're shutting down the controllable channels, and you're leaving all the uncovered back channels where it just comes through unregulated. You have no idea what's inside of that. You don't know what kind of can of worms you're opening when they get their hands on that shit, because that's when the bad players come in.
Tim, that's too logical.
And that's how Florida was so successful for the last 3 sessions. Is that point, Tim? Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
They're going to get it. They're going to
get
get it. I don't care.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of what do you want them to get a hold of.
That's it. Yeah.
Right. Wouldn't you rather have some enforcement issues that you need to deal with instead of shit that you can't? I mean, it's like once you take one down, 10 more pop up. It's like it legitimately is like a drug war. It's like you take down one guy as a trafficker and 10 more replace him. It's a vacuum.
Yeah.
Because they're making hand over fist.
Yeah.
It's whatever.
At what point? I'm still waiting. At what point?
Do you live with kookaburras? Like
Be careful.
Dude, I have a peacock farm, and the peacocks come out and in my neighborhood. They're like on my roof.
You got the big feather, big tail pops out.
Hey, Nick, be careful. It's mating season.
I know. I'm waiting for the gators to come through here and get them.
Well, it's funny what Tim just said, the drug thing, because I heard something, I don't like quoting comedians, but I actually was watching the Cat Williams special on Netflix last night, and he said something that actually, it lit the light bulb, but he said, do you notice there is no more talk about the war on drugs anymore? Do you know which line I'm talking about? Did your light bulb not go off in your head when you finished that statement? Because now it's not Joe Blow on the corner. It's your fucking doctor. It's your doctor that's the drug lord today. And when he said that light went off, because it's not about pot. It's not about any of that stuff. It's about all this crap that you're getting for AHAD, all this other crap that they're giving you that's fucking up the whole country. And when he said that, I started, the light went off. I go, yeah, you know what? I haven't heard anybody say war on drugs in a long, long time,
Well, I do think that it's prevalent in the news when all they talk about is the fentanyl that's coming across the border that comes from China and stuff, and how these kids at college are unnecessarily dying because they want to go try something that they didn't even know was laced with fentanyl. And I'm not trying to bring up the idea of drugs. I'm just saying that I think there's a lot of people now speaking out in the public media about how they're not being strict enough. That concerns people that, if it was just weed coming across the border, I don't think anybody would say too much, right? Because it just doesn't seem like something worth fighting. Some places don't allow it. But when you got something that's coming across where, correct me if I'm wrong, they did a bust. They had a bust that was done not that long ago. They said they found enough fentanyl in that bust to kill enough people in like 3 different continents.
Yeah.
And I'm like, are you fucking joking me? And here we are fighting vaping.
Yeah.
You're worried about your kid putting 8 joules in a styrofoam cup, and then your 18-year-old future neurosurgeon here decided to go out and try a little MDMA for the weekend at a rave, and it was laced with fentanyl, and now he's dead.
He's dead.
He's dead.
Well, you don't hear from mad moms anymore either. They're all paid moms now.
They're all paid moms.
Right.
So,
It's just the whole minutia of it. It just seems so twisted. It's like there's such a priority over something that ultimately in the end is not nearly as dangerous as some of the shit that's out there that they need to be worried about. And that just, they turn a blind eye to that, or and I'm not hating on harm reduction. Harm reduction is harm reduction, but you don't hear a lot of stink about facilities where people are not really getting away from their addiction. They're just going there to have a safe place to have their addiction. And maybe there's some counselors there, but they probably don't give a shit. They're like, just let the guy have his stuff so he can. I'm being sensitive to his issues.
Your point, Tim, is that the majority of the drug side and my point on the mad side is that they don't have the opposition with the dollars that big tobacco has.
Right.
Big tobacco, they lose money, right? Yeah. Nobody, when they just let the alcohol go and the other stuff go, they don't lose anything.
Right.
If vapor does good, big pharma and big tobacco actually lose money, which causes most of our people that are the opposition to lose money. Right. But I'm waiting for the day somebody stands up and says, okay, kids are vaping, so what?
Ooh. It'd be nice. We might have to wait till we're 64, 10 years from now.
But honestly, so what?
Yeah.
I mean, and to me, I think that's sort of like, I mean, it may sound smug, but I mean, it's a reality that you have to consider. And the fact is that if I had my choice to find my kid doing something and I found out that he was vaping, I'd be like, oh, thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God it's only vaping that he's doing, At least he's not friggin', he's not jacked up on opioids every day. He's not cranking down friggin' oxys and stuff like that, and he's getting truly addicted to the point where he's become non-productive to society. I mean, so if he's got a fucking jewel in his pocket and he's keeping his job and paying for his gas and his insurance, well then as a parent, I'm not gonna sweat bullets. Now, will I have the conversation with him? Sure. I'll be like, that's not for adults, and you shouldn't be doing that. And that was set aside for people to make a choice when they're an adult.
Right.
If you want to defy my order, then we got a whole other issue.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I could turn around and look at the government and go, it was vaping. He was vaping.
So, Tim,
yeah.
If your kid is 17 years old, say, just a guy or a girl, it doesn't matter, boy or girl, or whatever. I'm sorry to mention boy or girl.
Can't list them all. We don't have enough time in the show.
I know you're from California, John, so
you don't have enough time to list them all.
Let me just say your kid is 17. You catch him with a pack of smokes.
Right.
What are you going to do?
The same
Well,
thing
being-
my parents
Paul and
did.
John should answer the same question.
Just the same my parents said. I'm not helping or supporting this. That's what my parents said.
Well, I think that's
it.
that's the correct
That's the
thing to
80s
say.
though.
Because I think in any kind of situation where you have a kid doing something that he shouldn't be doing, especially like smoking and stuff like that. Me personally, I don't know that I would grab his hand and take him and try to figure out how to put a vape in its replacement. I don't feel like that's the right thing as a parent to do, because then I'm just sort of complicit to the idea that, that I don't want kids vaping. That's not that. I would certainly, being a smoker though, being a former smoker, I certainly would try to do something about it. I wouldn't just turn a blind eye to the fact that he's smoking. I mean, I'd probably be on him a little bit more and be like, man, look, I did that shit for like 20 something years. It's not going to pay off. You may think it's cool and all that right now, but you're not going to do that in my house. You know what I mean? And I know what you fucking smell like when you come home. I'll know. So if you smell like poopery when you walk in the door, I'll know you've been smoking too. But again, I still don't feel like, me personally, like my druthers would be like, okay, I'm going to try to find some kind of a replacement situation for him and feed into the idea that, that I'm an enabler for that to take place as well. I don't want to be vilified, as being like, well, Tim's a vapor, now he's teaching his kid to vape. And I'm like, no, all I wanted to do was get him to quit smoking. That was really what I was trying to do, but in turn, I end up being the bad guy. So I think I would probably start with a therapy route or something like that, and see if I couldn't get him some kind of medical attention that way. Maybe go to a Wellbutrin or something like that. I know that they use that and Wellbutrin is non-psychoactive, right? It's not like some of the other harder stuff. It's a mood stabilizer, and I just know that my ex-wife, she actually was a smoker and she was dealing with some anxiety, and they put her on Lexapro and Wellbutrin. They gave her the Lexapro to build energy, or was it the Wellbutrin to build energy or something like that? And it turned out that she ended up quitting smoking because of it, because of the Wellbutrin, because it made the cigarettes taste like shit.
How about you, Paul?
Personally, a 17-year-old, and I'd say, look, I know that you're turning 18 soon. I'd rather you be vaping than smoking cigarettes. Do you want the same problems that I've been through in the future if you keep smoking? Or do you want a healthier alternative? And let's talk about this. If there are other problems, underlying problems with you, let's talk. Let's sit down and have a beer and have a chat, because what's going on?
Yeah.
Or what have you got problems with? What's going on in your life? You got to talk to me.
That's a good point, because we all started for a reason.
Look, you've got to sit down and he keeps revving everyone up.
You're right, though, Paul, because we did start for a reason. It either was to look cool or we had some problems. But you're right, and that's something that should be addressed.
I was rebelling. I was mad at my parents for doing, like shutting down my bad behavior or whatever, and so I ran out and did more bad behavior.
Go ahead, Paul.
It's tough because, look, I started smoking because of trauma in my younger years. That was one of the real reasons, and because there was no real guidance after my father passed away, so I was having problems with that. But you got to try and get to the core of what's going on with your kid.
Right.
I'm sorry, but if you don't have the time to spend with your kid when they're 17, 18, they're going to fuck shit up, and they're going to fuck it up badly.
Yeah.
Help them.
This is
But
for
I'd rather them. Oh, fuck, here we go. But I would rather talk to them or hand them a vape and say, look, you don't want emphysema 20 years down the pathway. But if you've got problems, let's talk about it. Let's go over what the story is. Why are you really vaping?
Yeah.
Or why are you really smoking, for that matter?
Yeah, it took me a while. It's funny because Tim said what he said, you smell, but it took me a while to catch him. It did. It really took me a while to catch my son because I would go out and smoke. I had a little front yard patio thing with an awning, and we had 2-3 chairs out there, and a little fire pit, and that's where I used to smoke. I never thought twice about taking my pack of cigarettes back inside with me. There was always a pack sitting on that little table. I never thought twice that one of my kids would take a cigarette, knowing that I did the same thing. I stole. But it took me a good almost half a year to realize that, 2 of my kids were smoking, because I smelled like smoke. My ex-wife smelled like smoke. Everything, our cars smelled like smoke because we were in it. So I never really picked it up. And then the fuckers wore so much Axe that you couldn't smell anything anyway,
Yeah.
The Axe spray. But yeah, it took me a long time. And I did the same thing. I sat down with my son, John Paul, and I asked him, all right, look, you hear me every morning. What do I sound like? He goes, you sound terrible, Dad. I'm yakking. I'm coughing my brains out. I said, you got an opportunity right now. You play baseball, you play basketball, and you play football for school. Do you want it coughing out your lungs and doing all this? No, I don't want to. But like you said, it doesn't deter them. They're going to continue on. And I just, like I told them, I'm not supporting. Same thing my mom said to me. And I granted, it was the 80s. It's a little different. She just flat out told me, I'm not paying for this habit. You want to continue smoking, it's coming out of your pocket, your money. And again, I was, a little bit older, 16, 17, but, those are your typical first generation Italian-American moms.
Yeah. Well, I think Mallory had a good point too, is that, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen around the house, like on the back porch or something like that.
Yeah.
But I think, and dare I say, I mean, we were all kids once too, and I do think that kids unfortunately have to deal with that humongous duality of life where it's like, they get busted by mom and dad, and they know that they should do the right thing, in the sense that it's about respecting your parents. But then you get back out there with your friends and your buddies, and they're all acting a fool and doing stupid shit. Odds are you're going to go do stupid shit with them, out of peer pressure. Like, hey, well, why the fuck did you quit smoking all of a sudden? You're going to catch that flack, and then, you're going to be like, man, give me one,
Yeah.
and you're going to end up doing it anyway. But I think as parents have a duty to try to stymie that as much as possible, and do the right thing. But I just don't know that I would deploy my kid with a vape in a broad attempt to try to break a habit. I don't want to say, I don't know. What do you guys think about the whole idea that if you harp on your kid too much about something in particular, he's just going to do it more?
Yep.
It's like if you're like don't smoke, smoke is bad for you, like, and you're just up his ass all the time, or her ass, or their ass, or whatever. They're just going to be like, fuck it, I'm going to go ahead and smoke. Fuck them. Fuck them. It's my life. I can do what I want to. That sort of rebellious agnostic kind of response to your authority.
That was my 2 boys. Unfortunately, I bought, the gas-powered scooters came out, and they wanted gas-powered scooters. And I was like, okay, you know what? I'll go get them. Unfortunately, my shit luck, when I bought it, 2 weeks later, they changed the law. So you couldn't have it anymore unless you were over 16. But prior to that date, so I told the boys, look, ride this around here, up and down the street. Don't go anywhere. You won't get in any trouble if you just stay on our street. All right, Dad, no problem. What happens 3 days later, after I'm bitching, $75 ticket. I'm like, you're paying for that. You got to go to traffic school for riding the scooter. I was like, they have kid traffic school? I was like, what?
Yeah, they'll send you to the juvenile court system for that stuff.
Yeah, $75 for riding this gas-powered scooter. But yeah, they're going to do whatever they want. It's virtually impossible.
I want to say, I've had some time to reflect on the whole thing, about, how, we're so vehement about wanting to say vaping and everything. And then you say a million times in Twitter threads or Facebook posts or responses to some government official, and we go, wow, it's bad parenting that ends up, causing this shit to happen in the house. And I'm like, you know what? Now that I think about it, there's probably a lot of really good parents out there
Yeah.
that this shit happens to too, that have told their kid a million times, don't smoke, don't do drugs, don't drink. You know, you know, if you want to have a healthier lifestyle, you don't want to get messed up with that stuff. I love you. You know, don't smoke.
Yeah,
You know, and
yeah.
then the kid goes out and fucking smokes anyway. And I, you know, so I don't want to. I feel bad for sort of like levying this blanket, you know, kind of like comment about, you know, how the reason kids are vaping is due to bad, you know, bad parenting. And I don't know that that's necessarily always the case.
Yeah, no.
Yes, there's some parents who are absent. You know, they work too much, can't be around, kids a bit of a derelict, and you know, maybe that's bad parenting. I don't know, but you know, that said, it's just, you know, I feel like it's futile. John is my point.
Here's 50. I don't want to see you until Friday.
I don't know that I would go that
I
far.
think
That's
something
bad.
you tie in there though is that, you know, some of the bad parenting might be they're given access to products that are for adult use only. You know, I mean, being their buddy, like John said. So
being their buddy.
Bad, you know, I guess it's hard to gauge. It's instead of a blanket statement of bad parenting, maybe it's just
just pressure, pure pressure.
I mean, it happens. I mean, I smoked. My parents all smoked. My sisters, my brothers, my aunts, my uncles, and just Italian family stuff. Man, it was.
Yeah, there were 8 ashtrays just on the kitchen table.
Yeah, and cigarettes and everything else, and it's just like, okay, I'm going to start. Man, 12 years old, I was smoking.
Yeah, I know a lot of people that started smoking even knowing that their grandparents died from smoking, and they started smoking. I'm just like, and I started thinking, I never ran into that situation. I didn't know anybody in the 80s when I started smoking that had passed away from cigarettes, because it didn't. I don't know if it really drew into the two conclude. You know, that okay, you smoke, you're going to die from cancer. Yeah. I think it was out there. I don't think it was communicated to us. You know, as teenagers, that this could possibly happen. But yeah, I growing up, I didn't know anyone that, you know, like my uncle. He was 98 years old, smoked 3 packs of cigarettes every day, and drank a 5th of Jack Daniels and whiskey every single day. He died because he lost his balance. He lost his balance. They blamed cigarette.
Yeah, but see, and that's strange because I didn't come from a family of smokers. Now, I was aware of the fact that my dad had smoked briefly when he was younger, but he smoked. Now, he was a pipe smoker as I was growing up as a kid, but to me that didn't seem like the same thing because he wasn't really inhaling. He was just sort of like puffing on his cherry tobacco, and it kind of smelled cool and stuff. Yeah. Now, my grandmother was a smoker up until the day she basically died, but she didn't die of cancer though.
Yeah.
She died of a broken hip. Yep. But she wasn't being treated for cancer when she died of the broken hip, let me be clear. Yep. So I'm just saying she didn't pass away because of smoking. So it wasn't a prevalent thing around me. I think it was just a rebellious thing. I was mad. I went for a walk. There was my friend. He had some cigarettes. I said, let me try that. Yeah. And then that was it. You know, it just stemmed from that.
Yeah. Guys, I'm going to hit it.
All right.
The phone's dying, and so am I.
All right. Watch out for the gators in the pool.
Yeah, and the peacocks. The peacock. If they got their feathers out, that means watch out. That's sex time. Run into the house.
Pictures for you, John. I'm gonna send you pictures.
I'd love to see pictures of peacocks.
You guys.
That just sounded awesome, so wrong, dude.
All right, brother. We'll see you soon.
Stay amazing. Be good.
Later.
See you guys.
Yeah, that didn't sound good. No, John does not want to see pictures of peacocks.
Yeah, we apologize for where the show just went for the last 20 seconds. That was not meant to go there. Yeah.
Yeah, no, for me, I was just in the back seat of the car, and I was just fed. I had smoked before, but it wasn't a normal thing. It wasn't an everyday thing. And I was sitting in the back seat. We cruised on Friday nights up and down McHenry, you know, looking for the parties and the girls. And my brother and my cousin would smoke, and it would just keep coming back to the back seat and hit me in the face. And I finally said, you know what? Fuck this. Hand me one. I'm done. This is stupid. If I'm going to inhale this, I might as well have one in my hand. So that's how I got back to buying, you know, a pack a day.
Do you remember the first time you took a drag on a cigarette? Do you specifically remember the moment?
Yeah, I stole it from a priest. That's.
Do you remember how your throat got real tight real quick? It was almost like your esophagus just kind of like got like shut down for like a millisecond. I was like, oh my God, this is what people do?
Yeah.
You know, and then eventually you get past all that, but
Yeah.
that was weird.
Non-filter Pall Malls stolen from the priest.
You know, mine were Marlboro Reds.
What?
Yeah, stole it because the priest did the same thing. That's probably where I picked up my habit of making sure I had a pack of cigarettes everywhere in the house. Because there was one in the backyard. There was always a pack in the front yard by the fire pit. I mean, I had them everywhere. There was always a carton in my truck. You know, I made sure I had a carton in my truck, a carton in my truck at work. So I always had a pack of cigarettes available to me. And plus, me and my ex-wife shared. We smoked together. So we always smoked the same brand since day one, Camels. So we always had cartons of cigarettes. She had a carton in her car. I had a carton in my car. I had a carton in the truck. You know, there was always a carton in the freezer or a refrigerator in the house. So there was always smokes in our house, always. So, and I never, like I said, I never thought, like Tim was, I never thought that my kids would take a cigarette from me. I never even dawned on me, and they were everywhere.
But you know, that's the irony in that is that even when I was a smoker, I didn't have the heart to steal a cigarette from my grandmother.
No,
like we would go in her house and she'd have that pack of Salem sitting there on the writing table. Yep. I knew exactly where they were. They were there in the same place every freaking time. And I never once thought like I'll just snatch one from her and go take a walk around the corner or something like that.
Grandma won't miss one.
Well, she wasn't a heavy smoker, so I gotta be honest. It wasn't like she was going through a pack a day. I think a pack might have lasted her half a week.
Yeah.
You know, she was a very light smoker. Like it was mostly, I think, just for relaxation or something like that. So strange in that regard. But yeah,
that was her bourbon. That was her bourbon, Tim.
Yeah, I don't recall her being much of a drinker, I want to say, but yeah, to be honest, I never really ever saw her smoke that often. Like I don't recall growing up being like, oh, there she goes smoking again. You know, it would just be sort of like one of those things she kind of did in her own private time, and I don't think she wanted anybody to see her doing it just because of the stigma attached to it anyway. So
it's funny too because like I always go through, like for many years I've been scanning my parents' photos, you know, to save them. And what I noticed is, like, I knew my dad never smoked. He never had a cigarette in his entire life. But every single picture that he took, he always had a cigarette in his hand because they made him put a cigarette in his hand because that's the way the times were. You had to have that cigarette. So my dad's, you can tell, like, he's like holding it the wrong way. And he's just like, kind of like, this is stupid. But every picture, my dad's got a cigarette in his hand. Never smoked a cigarette in his life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stupid. So stupid how the 50s and 60s were.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it is strange, you know. But I mean, I spent a lot of years defying my parents, you know. Like they would like it got to the point. I think one of the stranger parts was just getting to the point when they kind of were like consciously aware that I was a smoker on the regular, you know. But I was, you know, living on my own. I wasn't in the house anymore, and they would just constantly have to tolerate that. But now, you know, we've had the vape talk.
TMI, Curtis. TMI, Curtis.
What? I mean, too much information?
Yeah, too much information. We don't need to know what your grandma was doing after sex.
Yeah, no, Curtis, that's TMI, Curtis. That's TMI. We don't know. We don't want to know what your grandma was doing.
I even brought it up. If you ever, I don't know if it's the same at all the hospitals, but the really old hospitals here, like UCSF in San Francisco, they still have those pictures. You can go down the hallways, and they have pictures from, you know, the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, and the 60s in there, and you got these doctors holding clipboards, holding the cigarette in the other hand, you know, and the patient's there with an oxygen mask on, and he's sitting there smoking a cigarette. I'm thinking, man.
Yeah, but that was probably during a time and day when it was like cigarettes were kind of still sort of like not viewed as dangerously horrible.
Coffee.
Well, like accountants used to smoke, and like, you know, you could smoke in the office and all that stuff. That's just kind of weird. I don't know. It's just.
Did you guys ever work for somebody that was the chain smoker though? Did you ever work with that guy that would put one out and have another one ready to go right as he was putting the one out? Dude, I worked for a jeweler. I worked for a jeweler, and it was just during the summer. It was a summer job, and you know, my mom's like, "Go work over there. It's good. You learn how to sell stuff." Because back then, the jeweler, that was a guy. He was like the used car salesman. He could sell, you know, like the old saying, you know, ice to to someone, whatever that phrase is. So I go and work there, and he's just lighting. It's done. He's putting it out, and with the other hand, he's grabbing the other cigarette out and lighting. And I'm thinking, no wonder this fucker goes through 4 packs a day, dude. I was like, what? Who is it for you, Paul?
When I worked at a golf course, the guy that used to run the pro shop, he had a cigarette in his hand the entire time. Then when I worked in a tackle store, like in a fishing shop, same thing.
Yeah.
The skipper that I used to work with on his boat, he had a cigarette in his mouth the entire time. Yeah. And then the very first horse trainer that I worked for, same thing. And I was exactly the same. Yeah. And I had because I was rolling like for the last 20 years of my habit, and I had one in my mouth the entire day. If it went out, I used to just light it again, and it was there constantly.
All right, who had the ant that had perfected the ash? Who had the ant that had the ash that would be like?
I didn't come from a family of smokers.
Oh, you didn't. Yeah,
I never had that.
Who for somehow could just keep that ash going and it would never fall, and she'd be cooking, and you're like,
No, didn't have that.
Oh yeah. It is time for news.
Yep. Let's do it.
Let's do the news. Let me find the news clip. Here it is. Are you ready, Mr. Tim? Boom.
I feel like now that I've seen that clip like 1,000 times, I want to be like Tom Hanks in that clip and just be a fucking pissed off guy in the morning and just throw water on or throw coffee on somebody. All right, we're going to tap, and I have a question for John after I quit tapping. It's tap time. All right, so...
No, you can't date my sister.
I don't want to date your sister. Okay. Nor do I want to date Taylor Swift, because that would be weird because she already has the same last name as me. So I'm not going to go. I'm not going there. I'm not going to do that. I don't want to date anybody related to John Truncali. Everybody clear on that? Unless she's really, really hot.
She's hot.
Okay. Well. Anyway, I guess if she's your family member, you got to say that.
I'm obligated.
So I have a question for John, because John said that we were going to talk about a couple articles tonight. So did you have another one that you wanted to talk about?
No, because I figure you're going to talk about that second one that's on 360.
Maybe or maybe not. We'll find that out when I get there. But just for the record, that John and I did not plan this before the show. I had a little bit going on when I got home from work tonight, and so I was kind of under some duress to get my notes done, and we coincidentally picked the exact same article.
That's why you picked that article, too.
Right, which that's okay, because it needed to be talked about, because I think it's all relevant to everything. I did want to point out there was another comment, John, in that article, and this was going back, everybody, to the FDA delivers. The article was called "The FDA Delivers a Failing Report Card." That was what the article was entitled. But they said specifically, which I thought was quite interesting, the FDA noted that only one product, other than the named brands, which were all named, fits the criteria, and a total of 240 PMTAs meet the judge's requirements, remain to be reviewed. So there's more PMTAs out there than 240. That would seem like I read that and I'm like, fuck, there's only 240 left. I'm like, holy shit, we're going to be done in no time. But that means that 240 met that criteria from the judge that they needed to review the bigger names.
Right.
So I don't know how many other PMTAs are still sort of like floating in the nether. It didn't really talk to that. But again, this was an important article that it does sort of show the inability of the FDA to sort of get this task done timely-wise. And part of me wanted to say that because they couldn't finish it in a timely fashion, that it meant some good news for the greater of us, but it doesn't really change anything. It just means that we have to watch the slow and agonizing approval of Juul, you know. But that said, so maybe we can talk about your other article, because I want to move on to the second one that I was going to talk about. And that was that Vuse got some more products with MGOs.
That's the
one. Is that the one?
Yeah,
okay. All right. They were both on Vaping 360? I didn't think I found them
both of them are on 360, yeah.
I actually got mine from FDA.gov.
Oh, yeah.
I actually went right to the horse's mouth on mine.
Yeah.
All right, so last show, I think we talked about some MGOs that were issued for some other Vuse products that had come out, and now they've issued 2 more. So on May 12th, the FDA issued decisions on several Vuse Vibe. I think we did go to the website and look at Vuse's products,
Yeah.
and Vibe is one of their products, and Ciro, Ciro, Ciro. They got some MGOs on their products. This also included the authorization of 6 new tobacco products through the PMTA pathway. So for each device, 2 versions of the power units were authorized to reflect different battery manufacturers, which is interesting. So you've got the same product out there, but you're pushing it out into the market using 2 different battery manufacturers. So that ends up sort of doubling the PMTA approval. It's the same device, but it's seen differently. And I think that that's a very unique thing, that when it comes down to the hardware aspect of it, and you're talking about closed pod systems and stuff like that, they treat a different battery as a different product. Looks exactly the same.
Yep.
Vapes exactly the same liquids in the cartridge, but because there's a different Chinese manufacturer and they're putting a battery in there, they treat them as two different products. Both products are closed systems, and only tobacco flavored cartridges were approved. Wah, wah, wah.
I have that button.
So, but and that's sort of unfortunate, because I think that you defeat a good majority of the process by only allowing tobacco to be the predominant flavor available to people. I think if anything, you're just going to get people to be less interested in buying it, because they'd be like, I'll just smoke a cigarette. They're probably cheaper anyway. I did say that for each device there was 2 versions of the power units, and they were authorized differently. So let's read. Let me share my screen.
Share it, Timmy.
Share my screen. La-di-da-di, we likes to party.
We
don't cause trouble. We don't bother nobody. But okay. I don't know why that popped up in my head.
That is weird that song just popped up in your head.
Why? Is that the song that popped in your head too?
No, it's not your genre.
It's definitely not my genre. Although
You dabbled.
Truth be told, when I was in high school, they called me the heavy metal break dancer. That's because I listened to like Slayer and Venom and Exodus, and then I would go with my friends down to Georgetown, D.C., down at 1 a.m. when the bars were letting out, and I would do a little
You
popping.
did some pop
stuff.
locking.
I did some popping,
But
my friends would do the spinnies on the cardboard in the little alleyways to make a little money on the side, because people were drunk coming out the bar. So I got known as the heavy metal breakdancer.
Breakdancer.
Y'all just got an insight on me. So now you got a joke to run with for the next 6 weeks.
Yep.
There's Timmy, the heavy metal breakdancer. All right. So 2 Vuse Vibe power units. Vuse Vibe Tank Original 30% Nick. 2 Vuse Ciro power units, and the Vuse Ciro cartridge Original, which is 15%. Yeah. So the products that are actually making it to market also are not 50s. Not all of them.
No.
So, I mean, that's kind of a good thing in a weird sort of way. You know what I mean? I think that's probably a little bit more relevant for what most people probably need. Not everybody is a 2-3 pack a day smoker.
Right.
So they don't really need 50 on the steady, and I think that's kind of like where the quicksand happens. Yeah. Because, you're just giving people these massive amounts of nicotine.
Yeah. Do you
and
think,
they don't really know how to
these
control
companies
it.
are realizing that they need to stay away from that 50 as well, I think, don't you? They're like pushing their luck, going into that 50 range and staying right. Well, 30 seems to be the highest, right? 3 point.
Well, no, because when we talked about the products from last week, there was some 5%. There were some. Mm-hmm. And so I'm not saying that there are some particular people who might need 50 to help cessate and get them away from smoking because of the amount of smoking that they're doing, or the amount of stress in their lives, or whatever the other ancillary arguments might be. But I generally think that that's not the vast majority of what's required. I feel like 36, 24, 18, that's probably more than enough for the average person trying to quit. And in that sense, if these are the products that you're putting out to market and you are going to say that there's a threat from the kids that they're going to get this shit anyway, maybe that's better. They're not using the really, really high levels of nicotine if that's what they elect to pick up and use. I mean, frankly, just reading this, I'm like, that's trash. I don't want any of that. I would never walk into a C-store and buy any of that. That would never even be on my radar, unless it was an absolute necessity, because that's all that was
Last
available.
minute, you forgot everything. You forgot everything at home, and you're at that C-store. Then maybe I'm grabbing one of those.
Right, exactly. So, so with that said, with those products now out to the market, it said these products can now be legally marketed in the U.S., but it does not mean that they're FDA approved. So MGOs do not mean they're fully approved by the FDA. It just means that they can legally be marketed and sold in the United States. And based on the PMTA rules and regulations and everything else, that these are considered to have some kind of a net health benefit to the public, to adults in general, that they're not a particular product that is a threat to the youth becoming addicted to these particular products. So with that said, even with these MGOs that have been issued to these companies, that they are going to be under a very strict set of guidelines and restrictions in how they can market these products, meaning how they advertise for them, how they push for sales. It potentially might mean what magazines they are available to be printed in, or what commercials or non-commercials can be actually pushed for these products. Because if they do anything that sort of test these guidelines as to how they were able to obtain the MGO, the FDA can strip that MGO in the blink of an eye if they find out that it looks to them like it's now a net negative to health, to public health, if the kids are getting latched onto these in some way because they've sensationalized them and made them sound like they're more tasty than these tobacco flavors probably are. So there's that. And then it also mentioned too that there was several products, or multiple products anyway, that MDOs for these products were also issued for. So I'm just going to go out on a limb and probably say that one was a mint, one was a menthol, and there might have been a flavor or two in there. So, with all those said, they probably ixnayed a mint and a menthol that were probably of the 1.5 and 3% variety. I don't know anything about the Zero. Maybe the Zero is really super low wattage, like 1.2 watts or something like that, and that's why you only need 15% in there or something. Who's to say? I don't really know. I just know that I don't know. I have mixed.
It's got a small tank. It's a small tank, right?
Well, let's take a look, John.
Yeah,
let's look up the Vuse Zero.
It's a 0.9 millimeter tank.
Okay, so that's tiny. Vuse Zero. All right, let's see. Oh, there it is. All right. So it's a Cigar-like. Is that? Oh, I can't get on this website. I got to look at pictures. Hold on, because you have to go through. You have to sign up for their website. No, you literally.
You have to sign up. Yeah.
You have to sign up and all that stuff, right? So here's the product spread. So
it's a tiny tank.
I can't make this any bigger.
That's what she said.
Oh, it's on their website. Look at that. So it's this thing right here.
Yeah, it's really small. It's basically your HTC tank or whatever you call it.
So let's try to figure this one out, right? So if you're gonna go with the green, that's probably like a winter green or something like or a menthol. The blue would be like what? Like a what?
No, green is menthol. That one is a wintergreen. 2 tobaccos, and I forgot what the blue one is. The teal one is a wintergreen from memory.
Okay, so in the end, it's probably these two.
Yeah,
these two got approved.
I think it's those three on the end: the blue and the gold and the burnt orange. I think they're the 3 tobaccos, and those other 2 is menthol and wintergreen from memory.
Okay. So with that said, and then it's hard to see, but here, what was the other one called? The what? The Vibe.
Vibe. Yeah.
That's this one. This is more like a stick type pen. So let's look at the Vibe. Is anybody interested in these products at all? So this is again, it's like a Cardo Cigalike again.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a.
Oh wow.
It's
that
a 2.
brings
It's
back
a
some
2
fucking
part.
days.
Yeah. That brings back memories. But
That brings back some memories.
this is very, very interesting with this one because it's a 2-piece device, and it's a rechargeable C4 battery from memory or whatever they're called. Yeah.
Well, this reminds me of Blue, because Blue's the battery unscrewed like that, and you put it in the little black box, and you could charge the box, and then it would charge your battery, and then your little Cigalike Cardo screwed on, and it looked like a Cigalike. It looked more like the Zero, but it was a Blue. But at any rate, so these are the 2 products that the FDA gave MGOs for, and then these companies can legally put these on the shelf and sell them. Now, is that a good thing? Sure, great. It keeps vapor products out in the marketed space, and that means that people who want to try to quit can go pick up something and give it a shot. To me personally, I just don't feel like this is enough to do it.
It's not our niche. It's not our niche. Yeah.
It's not our niche, but I feel like it's going to result in more people relapsing or dual using, just simply because of the fact that it's a tobacco flavored vape.
Right.
It doesn't help them separate from the other. Now, the ones that would probably not buy it because it's not available is the wintergreen and the mint, who would be the transition for somebody who is a menthol smoker. And because they can't get that at all, then this does nothing for them. So they're just going to go and buy that pack of Newports anyway.
Yep.
So you haven't solved anything. It's a cardomizer.
Cardomizer.
Yeah, that's a cardo right there. But I think they called them all cardos, right? Because basically a Blue was like a battery with a self-contained bridgeless atomizer.
Yep, it was a bridgeless.
That's basically
atomizer.
what it was. It was a bridgeless atomizer encased in plastic and loaded with liquid.
Yep.
And I don't even remember how long those damn things lasted.
I got a couple days, 2 days maybe, on them.
Yeah,
That's about it.
I just remember it just didn't satisfy me. It didn't do enough for me to keep me really all that jacked. I felt like I was fighting to really want to enjoy it.
Who didn't use a bridgeless atomizer to do e-liquid sampling? I did. Did you use
Who
one, Paul?
didn't or who did?
Who didn't? I did. I'm saying I did. Yeah, I used.
I did. Yeah, we all did that because we would go buy the sample lines from these companies, and it's like, I remember getting the Grandmaster sample pack. You got like 6 10 ml bottles in the little cardboard tube, and it had like one of each of their main line, which was like you had Grandmaster, you had the one with a lot of them were liquor ones, which I didn't really, I didn't care to. But Bowden's Mate, I think that was one of them. Bowden's Mate or whatever it was called, Bowden's Mate. Anyway, but we all use, because like you could just put like 2 or 3 drops in on your bridgeless atomizer and just taste it and see if you wanted to keep going with it or not.
Not have to re-wick a stupid RDA because you tasted something that was disgusting.
Right, exactly, and I mean, it was a regular thing to use. But anyway, so these are the 2 products that the FDA approved. Take it for what it's worth. They're available now at your participating C-stores.
C-stores. Ask for Tim.
Ask for Tim. Tell him Tim sent you, and you'll get no discount whatsoever.
If you say Paul's name, they're going to take you to the back room.
All right. So with that said, John and I covered the same 2 base articles for the week. But anyway, let's talk about some advocacy. There's really not a whole lot going on. Right. So we
share a brain, Tim. We share a brain.
Yeah, there it is. Great minds think alike.
Easy.
Right, but with that said, there's really not much going on in the sense of calls to action right now. There's not a lot of immediate flavor bans on the table. We know that Hawaii passed theirs, and then we had the two that got shot down. Well, the one in Colorado was voted down, which was good news, and the one in Maine, they ran out of time in that yearly session. So I would expect to see probably some conversation about Maine. Was it not Maine? Was it Maine or Michigan? I can't remember. Connecticut. It was Connecticut. It was Sorry, I apologize. It was Connecticut. Expect to see Connecticut back in the CASA call to action list probably again next session or within a year when they decide to try to pass this ban again. But that said, this one has to do on CASA's website with the thing that we talked about last week, and that was the menthol cigarette and cigar ban, along with all the other flavored non-smokeless tobacco elements that have menthol or mint in them. So that would mean, folks, you Kodiak fans out there,
Woo!
all you dippers out there, you're going to be impacted by that as well. So this really doesn't address what you feel that, like I don't really want to fight for cigarettes per se. I do have my views on how I think these are broadly unfair to a particular group of people. But with that said, even Matt said last week that they talked about this, and it does seem sort of counterproductive to actually lobby for the cigarette industry. But I do think that CASA has the right approach here, and that you don't necessarily have to fight and to save cigarettes on your own from an advocacy perspective, but you can use these opportunities with the open commentary period, the open comment period, which was opened on May 4th, to get your point across about access to vapor products. That basically, you want to go ahead and ban menthol cigarettes, but you're not really giving people an alternative, right? You're not giving them the less harmful alternative in vaping to try that, because you're basically forcing people to quit or break the law or do something federally wrong, which is insane to me. That you're basically going to make someone who was just smoking because they're stressed out and enjoyed menthol cigarettes, now you're going to tell them, well, after 25 years of smoking a pack and a half a day, you're done, buddy. You got to quit. You just got to flat out, or find a way to go to regular tasting cigarettes. One or the other. So I think that these are perfect opportunities to lobby for the vapor industry as being one thing that was stripped away as well, to offer these people an alternative to something healthy before they go and do something unhealthy or worse. Where are they buying this stuff from? Where are they getting it from? Guarantee you there's a bunch of bordering countries that are probably seeing this coming, and they're like licking their chops,
Oh, Mexico, man. So many counterfeit cigarettes come through Mexico here into California. It is ridiculous. And they are so good at it now that if you don't really pay attention to the pack of cigarettes, you have no clue you just bought a pack of cigarettes from Mexico. And a couple stores here have got nailed for it because customers have picked up on the fact that, the foil was a different color. Yeah. Like they opened the pack and it was like, it's supposed to be a gold foil and there was a silver foil in there. Or you don't see, every pack of cigarettes should have a seal on the bottom of it, your state seal. And we started noticing, there wasn't that seal on the bottom of it. Right. And yeah, it is bad. It's bad here in Cali. I don't know. It's got to be the same way everywhere else.
Right. All right, Luke, man, thanks for joining tonight. So the points that they said that you might want to comment towards were: share your story about switching to vaping for any other smoke-free nicotine product. Mention the flavor or flavors that helped you break away from smoking, especially if it was or is menthol. Yep. Think about the tobacco laws in your community and state. Are you aware of incidents involving law enforcement and people, young people in particular, who use nicotine tobacco products? What were the outcomes? Sharing local news stories will help FDA understand how their rule is being enforced by other agencies not subject to FDA's authority. Or remember, there are two separate dockets open for comments. So you have double your pleasure. You can comment on both, because one goes after cigarettes and the other one goes after cigars and cigarellos and everything else under the sun, pretty much. So you have two different things that you can talk on, and then you can go here to CASA's website. We encourage that often anyway. You can read Daniel Jones's article on the opinion from the board president. Products affected by these rules. There they are. So it includes menthol cigarettes, roll your own tobacco, heated tobacco products, flavored cigars, blunt wraps.
Blunt wraps. I like they added. They made sure they added them blunt wraps.
Well, because that's what they are.
Yeah, they are.
Like,
blunt,
how many people do you know go into the grocery store and buy like 10 grape friggin' cigarellos because they just like grape cigarellos? You know damn well what they're going to get used for. Components and parts, tobacco filter and wrappers. Yep. So it's going to affect all that stuff. And then if you want to read what the rules are, you can go there too. But I think it is an opportunity to continue to try to advocate for vaping in a positive sense and be mad. They're finally taking away something that you want to be taken away in a sense to say vaping, but you need to fight for vaping too in the same breath. Yep. It's counterproductive to ban smoking and then also ban vaping. So that's that, and that is the news tonight. I apologize because we actually covered the one article earlier in the show, but it's good that we covered all three. Thank you. And my mic went dead.
Yeah, that's the best unmiked mic we had. Let me take Tim's thing down here, and let me give everybody you back on, Tim? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? No, hear you, Timmy. No, hear you.
That is the weirdest thing. It was sitting there unmuted, and then it went mute on me, like on its own. Yeah.
Just a heads up, the second week of June, we will be having Jim McDonald on the show. He's good to go, and I think he said the week after the first week of June, he said he'll be on. So Jim is going to be joining us. He's somebody that, like Tim, pulls a lot of articles from him. I do. Yeah, he's everywhere. I think he's on. I think his stuff gets published everywhere because what you read off was pretty much exactly what was written on the Vaping 360 site. So I'm assuming he's. What do you call it? AP press, whatever. His stuff gets a blogger. Damn it! Why couldn't I come up with that word? Blogger.
He writes op-eds, I think.
Yeah, op-eds. Yeah. So he will be joining us the second week of June on the show. So I look forward to that. Really nice guy, and I chatted with him a little bit on Twitter, and he's excited. He's excited about being on the show. So he's watched the show and he's excited to come on. So we'll see him in a couple weeks. Yeah. Yes, I got a yes button, but I don't want to hit it. Paul, Mr. Paul, you have anything before we head on out of here? We not hear you. You got the marcachi bucket. There you go.
Okay, we've got the federal election here this weekend.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we're going to wake up on Sunday with a new government. Hopefully, they're going to change their mind with a few of the things, and the incoming new health minister actually has something to do with health and not just a legal type person,
right?
Or a school teacher for that matter. So that's going to be very interesting.
Do you feel there's hope there? Do you feel there's hope there? A reset, with this new group?
Touch wood. I hope there is some change, some very big changes, actually. Not just what we really want, and we want vaping to become a consumer item and get rid of the prescription model. That will take a little bit more prodding and poking, I think, to get that over the line. But something else that is happening is that tomorrow I'm having coffee with the ABC, or the Australian Broadcasting
Nice
Network. And
don't forget to mention the show.
Oh, they know about the show.
Good.
They very much know about the show. It's the Australian Broadcasting Corporation. They want to do, and they want to interview me again for a piece that they're doing on vaping, and they want to rattle the cages of the TGA as well this time. They want the truth as to why we're not being treated with a little bit of respect, and why they won't speak to industry like leaders, and they would rather take money from Mr. Bloomberg and the others, and why the universities here in Australia are now corrupted, and we can't get real studies put forward. All we're getting is just complete and utter rubbish.
Yeah, it's got to be difficult for you guys not being able to have that voice. I mean, we have a voice here, but it seems like it could be a bigger voice. Let's just say that. But
Well,
you guys get zero voice.
Yeah, well, that's a very good point. We want to change the narrative, but they're not listening.
Yeah.
That's a really big problem right now.
And they don't have to. That's the other problem, right?
But they're worried about their $17 billion a year in tobacco revenue. Okay, that's for a start. The government here helped create this chaos that we've got going on now with disposables. They were the ones that created that chaos. The prescription model is a complete and utter joke. We have health ministers now coming out openly, and they're not anything to do with health. Okay, all they're there for is just to cause absolute chaos.
Yeah.
Nothing more, nothing less. They're not talking real benefits. They're not. And they said, but we don't know what's in them. Rubbish.
Yeah, the studies are there.
I'll give you a whole big stack of paper that shows you thousands of pages, but no, I don't think they can read. Oh no, look. And by the way, Hunt has actually stepped down now. He's not contesting. Greg Hunt, the federal health minister.
Okay.
He's now stepped down. He's not contesting this election, so we don't have to deal with that idiot anymore. But he will get his own, because once the federal ICAC, or Independent Committee Against Corruption, when that gets brought into play, he's going to be dragged into that and shaken up and down regarding what he has done and how he got to these positions, and why he was the one that actually helped Professor Skerritt at the TGA write 110, which is the laws behind vaping, the advertising, all of it. And we're just getting government here now handing out fines, like millions of dollars worth of fines now have been handed out up to this point. And we're just worried how much further this is going to go. It's a cash cow.
Yeah.
Nothing more.
Now, it's the same there as it is here, right? You don't see cigarette commercials, right, on TV. You don't see them
anymore.
No more, right? I wasn't too sure how that all worked, being the way it is there. If you guys still had like advertisement for cigarettes on newspapers,
Not at all.
because they even pulled it off pulled it off the race cars, right? Because I know a lot of race car drivers are in Australia, and a lot of their cars, back in the early '80s and '90s, were fucking Marlboro written right on the car.
Well, okay. That was the car that you referred to there was driven by Peter Brock.
Yep.
And Brocky, it was the Marlboro Holden dealer team, or GM. It was all powered by GM.
GM, yeah.
And that was the Marlboro Holden dealer team, and the number on the side of it was 05.
Yeah. I remember that car. Yeah. Yeah. I remember when all that kind of shit hit the fan, because that was all, everywhere you looked in sports, there was, some sort of tie with cigarettes in it. And I always found that, even as a smoker, I found that odd that we're associating cigarettes with athletes that are, at the peak of their fucking, their sport. And I always wondered, all right, how many of those guys actually smoke?
Yeah, that's it. Well, it was the Winston Cup.
Winston
Curtis, yeah,
Cup Series.
100% right,
That's
man.
Winston.
NASCAR.
Yep.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah. Yeah, NASCAR was slow to adapting that. I know that was a big issue over at NASCAR because NASCAR felt like, hey, we're NASCAR. We can, if we want Winston on our cars, we're gonna leave. You know how the Southern boys are. Fuck you. We're leaving Winston and we're leaving Marlboro on our walls and our tires.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
yeah.
But,
NASCAR was like slow to adopt that thing, and finally, I remember when they finally started. They started changing the names of the. We're dwindling down to the end of our show, guys. So we're just kind of talking nonsense. But it took them a long time to finally say, "Hey, we need to pull these sponsorships through Winston and
well,
Marlboro." And Camel was the big one because back in the '90s, Camel and NASCAR, woo! Camels were.
and
Remember the
the
Camel
other big
Joe
one,
car. The Camel Joe
yeah,
car.
but the other big one here was, and actually right through like Australia, New Zealand, UK, India, was in cricket, was the Benson and Hedges World Series,
Yeah.
and they sponsored that for many years.
All right,
That all
explain something to me because maybe you
yeah.
two guys know. I didn't understand the fact why Benson's and Hedges and some of these other brands were always so much more than any of the other packs of cigarettes. Why was that? Like
Well,
if
they
you
were
were
classified as a premium,
Yeah.
and
they sold it
it's
as a
the same
premium.
as, yeah. And the other big company from back in the day that also sponsored, well, they sponsored aerial skiing and skiing on a whole, was Peter Stuyvesant, or whatever the name was, Peter Stuyvesant. They were another big one for the whole skiing fraternity because it was, if you had a pack of Stivos, this was your getaway. That's how they.
Yeah, okay.
It all went along that
Yeah,
pathway. Benson and Hedges was, well,
it's
if you got
your premium brand.
well, yeah, but they were in a gold packet.
Yeah.
It was like the gold. Yeah, it was the gold standard.
Because I always remember that. Even from day one, I was always like, they were always either $1, $1.50, sometimes $2 more than a regular pack of cigarettes. No matter
Yeah, correct.
no matter what decade it was, they were always more expensive. All right,
Yeah.
guys, you got anything else you want to say? No.
No.
No, everybody, we'll see everybody next week. Stay on top of CASA, guys. Pay attention if you got some time. Hit that link, get over there, help out, like Tim was saying, and let them know what flavors and all that other stuff. Yes, it is about cigarettes, but explain to them why vaping is important and why to keep those flavors, guys. And we'll see everybody next week. Goodbye, Tim. Goodbye, Paul. Thank you again, both of you, and thank you again to Nick for joining us. And we'll see everybody next Wednesday.
Good night, y'all.